Hello everybody and welcome to our Tech Tuesday tutorial number 21. Today we're going into the common uses for those mysterious function keys. So every keyboard comes with a set of function keys which cater to special functions. We're going to go into some of the more common or handy uses for these function keys. We will talk about how to generally use them across browsers, Windows, and MS Office. Now, I should note that some keyboards, their function keys, their F1 to F12, include additional functionality when used in combination with the FN key, which is usually located near the control key. We will not be covering those today. Okay, so the first one is F1. Almost every program comes with some sort of help file or documentation or support that you can access using the F1 key. So if you're in your browser, you just hit F1 and it pulls up help for Google Chrome. If you're in Microsoft Word and you hit F1, then it pulls up Microsoft Word help. And if you're anywhere, it doesn't really matter. If you use the Windows or F1 key, it pulls up help for Windows. And this also works while you're just in a folder or something like that. Hitting F1 pulls up help for Windows. So that's probably the most useful function key you've got out there. Any program you're in, hit F1, it'll bring up the help. Okay, so the F2 key, for the most part, lets you rename things. If you select a file or folder or an icon in Windows and you hit F2, it'll bring up an option to let you rename it. If you're in an MS Office product like Word, you can hit Alt-Control F2, and that will bring up your documents library, which will then just is basically My Documents. So the F3 button mostly pulls up search. So if you're in your Windows Explorer and you hit F3, it'll pop up that little search bar at the top. If you're in Chrome, you can hit F3 to pull up the search function for find on this page. And if you're in Word, Shift F3 will toggle between capitalization options, either all caps, no caps, or first word in a sentence caps. F4 has a bit of a mixed bag of functions. In Microsoft Word, anything you do, if you then hit F4, it then repeats that same action. This also works in Google Forms, so that if you do something like bold this, then you go to the next cell, you hit F4, you do the same. Or you type something, you hit F4 and it repeats that same action. The other thing it does is if you hit Alt F4, it closes the current program that you're in basically and then shuts that down. The F5 button basically does a refresh on any browsers that you're on. So if you hit F5, it reloads the page and kind of refreshes to see if there's any big changes or anything else like that. Sometimes you want to clear out the cache, the stored stuff that's on the page, and you want to force it to download everything on the page again and force it to look at the server again. In that case, you can hit Control F5 and that'll force it to do a brand new refresh of the page, not looking at any old data whatsoever, and so on. You can also use F5 on PowerPoint to start the slideshow, and if you're in any kind of MS Office program other than PowerPoint, you can hit F5 and that'll pull up the Find, Replace, and Go To window, which is just kind of a nice handy way of doing it instead of having to go look for it. So F5 will let you do Find, Replace. For a lot of your browsers, if you hit F6, then it will focus on the address bar at the top. It'll also toggle between menus in your MS Office documents. You basically have to hit it twice. You hit it twice and then it pulls up these letters, and then you can use those letters like S to go to those areas, and then L and so on. So you can kind of navigate all your ribbons and everything using your keyboard only and never have to touch the mouse. May not be that useful for you, but it's there. F7 in Microsoft Office will let you do a grammar check, which is pretty nice. It just automatically runs it. Hit F7, done. You don't have to go up there and find it in the menus or anything else like that. Other than that, I couldn't really find a use for F7. Now, F8 through F12 starts to get a little bit obscure, mostly because people just don't use those that much, and the most commonly used ones are F1 to F5 with a little bit of F6 thrown in. So the F8 key is used basically whenever you start up Windows. There's an opportunity to interrupt the boot up sequence and access what's called Windows Startup menu. And it's usually used to put your computer into safe mode. F9 refreshes the document in Microsoft Word, and it does send, receive, and Outlook. So F10 activates the menu bar of an open application. I would demo that, but if I hit F10, it stops recording with Camtasia. So you just have to take my word on that. Shift F10 though is kind of neat. Shift F10 will actually work as a right click pretty much anywhere you're at. F11 is actually pretty dang useful. F11 does full screen mode in Windows Explorer and all your browsers. If you're in a browser and you want it to be full screen and get rid of all the menus and everything else, which is kind of what mine looks like here, I mean, it goes fully there, and then just F11 brings it back, and that works in a lot of applications. Try it out. And last but not least, F12 in an MS Office document or something like that will open up the save as, which is great. And then that'll basically allow you to go in there and just and save it instead of having to again go to the menus. Okay, so that is everything. F1 to F12. Again, most of your functions are going to be coming from the F1 to F5 categories. The latter ones are a lot more obscure. But hopefully you found this useful, and if you did find this useful and you'd like to support us, please subscribe to us, please share our videos with other people, and follow us on Twitter, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks.